An ESPN survey of 10 scouts and NBA execs ranked the Bulls signing DeRozan as the worst move of the offseason.
To win it! Go!
And here are your starters in the backcourt. From the Chicago Bulls,
There we go!
DeMar DeRozan. What a season for the 30-17 Bulls.
DeMar passed Wilt Chamberlain as the first player ever with 35 points or more in 7 straight games, shooting over 50%. Oh, and Wilt shot right at the basket. DeMar's a little more difficult. So how did everyone get this so wrong? What they didn't know is DeMar would play the best basketball of his life at 32 years old because he's finally winning a battle with depression he's fought his entire life. There are lots of inspiring stories about NBA players who survive a tough childhood. Kawhi Leonard watched his dad get shot at a car wash when he was just a kid. Jimmy Butler was homeless at 13 years old. But these stories always end with them getting drafted, becoming rich, living their NBA dream. The problem with those stories, though, is that money and success don't actually solve all their problems. No amount of nice clothes and fame can heal the trauma that they experienced as a kid. Well, DeMar grew up in Compton, California, which was run by street gangs. His first taste of violence was at 5 years old when his uncle was shot in the heart by a rival gang member. But despite that, DeMar joined a gang himself. He confirmed it, tweeting, "In high school, I wore blue every day." When trying to explain his motivations back then, DeMar said, "It's the first thing that you feel accepted by. It's all I knew. I look back on it now and it makes no sense, but growing up, it made perfect sense." In 2009, his worst moment was losing his best friend. Damian Childs was killed over a dice game, and DeMar actually blamed himself. He said he was supposed to call Damian to hang out, but he didn't, and if DeMar kept his promise, then his best friend would still be alive. Well, if it wasn't for basketball, DeMar might not be with us. His dad, Frank, saw how talented DeMar was, and he pushed him to be a tough player who never showed any weakness. And that mindset actually got him out of Compton, eventually into the league, but it also made overcoming his depression almost impossible. One day, Frank went a little too hard on young DeMar and busted his lip. DeMar could taste his own blood, and it threw him off, but instead of comforting him, Frank went even harder. He blocked his shots and bullied him in the paint, and eventually DeMar just gave up. "I got in the car and cried all the way till we got home so I could tell my mama." But Frank told his wife, he's gonna be a man one day, and the tougher I am on him, the better he'll be. So DeMar stuffed all of his pain. Instead of talking about it, he just punished opponents on the court. The day after his best friend died, for example, he dropped 60 against Compton College in a scrimmage. But when the game ended, his pain came back. In the 2009 draft, DeMar was a lottery pick out of USC by the Toronto Raptors. Not only was he gonna move away from home for the first time in his life, he was going to a different country. The only thing that brought him comfort at that time was basketball and a best friend, Kyle Lowry. The two built Toronto into the #1 team in the Eastern Conference, and they were like brothers off the court. After games, they had a saying with each other after every game in the locker room. They would say, "Back to reality," because basketball was so much better than actual life at that time. What Lowry didn't know is DeMar was at his lowest point in 2018. He felt more exhausted than he ever had for some reason. He would only get like 2 hours of sleep just staring at the ceiling, just reliving all of his dark past. He would somehow get up the energy to go back to training and playing every single day. Then something amazing happened. DeMar was named an all-star starter in 2018 in his hometown of Los Angeles. But instead of feeling happy for some reason, his depression only got worse. People were demanding money, tickets, attention. That week was actually one of the worst in his NBA career. DeMar said, "I had nothing left to give. Nothing. Physically, emotionally, mentally, I was down and out." So he decided to finally do something. On February 17th, 2018, DeMar tweeted out, "This depression get the best of me. and he posted a picture of the Joker on IG with the caption, "The worst part of having a mental illness is people expect you to behave as if you don't." This was a cry for help that his friends and his family had never seen before. His mom immediately reached out and told her son to see a psychiatrist. It's something she had done, and she told him there's nothing wrong with that. At the same time, the NBA world started asking questions. I mean, no one had ever been this upfront about their inner struggles. Overnight, DeMar became the face of mental health in the NBA. Pretty soon, other players like Kevin Love were talking about their struggles and saying that they would never have spoken up if DeMar hadn't been so brave. So, he spoke to a therapist, but it wasn't easy. He had never done that before. What really helped was talking to kids who were struggling too. He went all the way to Montana actually to speak with a high school team whose community had seen a spike in teen depression. He connected with a player there one-on-one who then opened up to DeMar after seeing him be so vulnerable. DeMar said, "Next thing you know, that was real therapy." But just as DeMar was getting control of his mental health, his life turned upside down. The Raptors traded him to the Spurs for Kawhi Leonard in the summer of 2018. He was devastated being separated from his best friend Kyle Lowry, and he felt betrayed because he wanted to retire as a Raptor. And on top of that, his dad got really sick. Frank had been dealing with health problems for years, but this was serious. Luckily though, he was on a team that valued family over everything. The Spurs leaked nothing to the media, and Greg Popovich told DeMar to fly home and come back whenever he could. He didn't even have to play games if he didn't want to. But DeMar did not want to be a distraction, even if he barely got any sleep. Eventually, Frank died in January of 2021. But like always, DeMar shined when things got tough. Pop made him a point guard for the first time in his life, and DeMar just doubled his assists while leading the team in points. By last summer, he was the most wanted man in free agency. DeMar spoke with LeBron and actually thought he would be headed home back to LA, before the Lakers traded for Russell Westbrook instead. The Bulls eventually signed him, and they immediately proved the haters wrong. DeMar unveiled a shoulder tattoo during the season of the best portrait of his dad. He says finally speaking up about his issues got him through Frank's passing and everything else. It's just freedom. It's kind of like driving on a bumpy road for so long that you get used to it, to where when you finally hit the smooth pavement, you really don't realize how smooth it is because you've been riding on a bumpy road for so long. And by the way, I'm not saying his depression is gone, it's just under control. DeMar says he treats it like a video game where he learns from struggles to get to the next level in the future. It's what the experts just couldn't see when they slammed the DeMar DeRozan signing this summer. But now he is playing more free and with more joy than he ever has before. One guy we haven't seen all year is Zion Williamson, and he's actually away from the Pelicans. He's in Portland training by himself. He could be dealing with something mentally, we're not sure. But what we do know is physically he has issues. Injury, weight issues, and I made an entire video that sums up what he's dealing with and maybe what a solution could possibly be. Check it out.